Good morning once again. Mr. Taboma Upa here again, security training. Today I'll be covering Module 9, Grade E, titled Guarding and Patrolling. Right. To guard is to be in a certain position, guarding against unauthorized entry or any crimes to be committed on site. That is guarding. Usually some guards, they stand on the gate. In case there is vehicles coming, then they can conduct access control. Or some, they can be sitting in the guardhouse or the guard room. Those small houses, they put at the gate so that the security, in terms of if the weather changes, can also be able to avoid any fatalities, you understand? That is what we call guarding. Patrolling is to move around a premise or a site. Usually it's conducted on an hourly basis. Some places 30 minutes basis, just checking the perimeter fence, back to the guard room. Then you report, you write in the OB book, all in order on site if anything didn't occur. Right. That is to patrol. So each time you patrol, you are doing an inspection yourself. We call it routine patrol, which means it's done at intervals. Right. Then guarding is standing or sitting in the guardhouse waiting to access people, as well as to guard against unauthorized entry and maybe criminal activity. Right. Let's look now at the objectives first of the Module 9 Grade E, which is titled Guarding and Patrolling. The objectives are, number one, when on completion of this module, number one, you must list the security risks to check during patrol. When you are on patrol, you are checking risks, things that can endanger the property or the site. Two, correctly identify physical barriers and patrol monitoring systems. Because we've got some use clock points. Those are monitoring systems. As well as reporting in the OB, as well as radio communication to your control, to assuring that everything is still in control. Or if anything happens, you report also ad hoc. Right. Number three, to use cover, illumination, shadow, obstacles to his or her advantage during patrols. You must use cover. Don't be so transparent to everybody. Right? You can use shadows as long as you're on patrol, so that not everybody will see your routine, how it's going, because they can plan, based on your routine also. Right. Number four, identify possible concealment sites on a given premises. Concealment sites, those are the sites that criminals are likely to hide so that you won't see them on site. We call those concealment sites. Right. Number five, locate and correctly identify emergency equipment. Where is the fire extinguisher? Right? You must exactly know it is in case a fire breaks out, and then you can use the fire extinguisher to extinguish the fire. That is a very typical example of emergency equipment. Right. Number six, list the correct general procedure in the event of an emergency. What do you do in case of emergency? Right. List unsafe acts and conditions which will create hazardous working conditions. So you must also be able to identify and list unsafe acts and unsafe conditions. Right. And then list the different types of patrols that can be carried out during a shift. Patrols are not the same. Although all of them can be on a routinely basis, but they are not the same. Because there's a patrol that you do 2-2, maybe you go parallel. Other patrols you go like crisscross. So they differ. Right. And then list the principles of effective patrolling. There is certain principles that have been laid out for effective patrolling. You must also know that and be able to list it. That is number 8. Number 9, demonstrate the ability to take action at an incident as prescribed in this model. So you must demonstrate the ability to take action at an incident. Right. Then lastly, number 10, list the correct methods of escorting people and vehicles. Because sometimes we escort, like somebody who doesn't know where he's going in the on site. We arrange for escort so that they can be taken there to avoid confusion, right? And then what we do when escorting, we must use a certain way. After maybe giving access to that person, either one guard goes with them or goes like where I used to work. The car, the cash in transit vehicle was escorted to the cash office and pick it up and escorted up. And he must identify himself. Already we know who is coming, so he must identify himself to avoid anything happening, because some people can pretend and then do that. Right? And then, so those are the objectives of guarding and patrolling, or this module. The aim of this module is to ensure that security guards know how to do guard and patrol duties. That is the aim, the reason why this module was created, in order to ensure security guards know how to guard and patrol duties. Right. Aims of patrol, we've got two. The aims of patrol. Number one, to prevent unauthorized entry, and if it occurred, to trace it. Understand? One, to prevent any unauthorized entry, and if it occurred, to trace it. You are patrolling, then you see the fence has been cut, and then the window is broken. Investigate, maybe the crook is still inside, then arrest him. That is, you trace it. If it happened, that is unauthorized entry. Number two, to prevent any irregularities, and if it occurred, to trace it. What are irregularities? Things that are not happening on a daily basis. So those are the two aims of patrol, but there is no question about the aims. Like observation, they wanted the aims as question one. Right, let's look now at the posting of guards now. Before going on duty, the guards will be paraded and inspected to ensure that, one, the guard is sober, not under the influence of drugs, and physically fit for duty. Number two, the guard is neatly and correctly turned out, which means he's in the correct right uniform that was issued. Number three, the guard is in his or her possession the right personal equipment required for the task, post, and that it is serviced. Radios, batons, metal detectors, torch, everything is serviced, is functional. Right. So that is what happens when the guards are posted. Right. Then the equipment that they're talking about now, that the guard is in his or her position, in the right personal equipment required for the task or post, and that it is his service. Other sides, they want firearm competence. Others, they just use like things like the equipment of guards, which is baton, number one, 2 whistle, but these days they are using panic button, 3 handcuffs, 4 pepper spray, 5 two-way radio. It's quite a lot, right? Because the question is only asking for 5, right? 1, baton, that is equipment of a guard. 2, whistle or panic button. 3, handcuffs. 4, pepper spray. 5, two-way radio. Those are what we call the equipment of a guard. The question says list 5 only. But there is more equipment, like pocketbook and pen. It's also part of equipment because you use it when we are on duty. Protective clothing, e.g. bulletproof vest if issued. Maybe you're working with firearm, and then firearm if issued. Torch for night shift, things like that. That is the equipment of a guard. But the question only wants 5. Let's go now to handover, takeover procedure. On arrival at the post, the outgoing and incoming guards will perform a handover takeover. Usually that's why we say we must arrive on site 15 minutes before the actual time. For 5:45 for 6 o'clock. But for supervisors, 5:30 for 6 o'clock, because they are the ones who must be on site first. Alright. So on arrival at the post, the outgoing, those coming out of the shift, and the incoming guards, those who are coming in for duty, they perform what we call a handover takeover, which means the outgoing one will hand over the duties to the incoming one. That's how it works. Right. Handing over any equipment specifically allocated to that post, that is radios, torches, and if applicable, firearm and ammunition, you hand it over. And then The outgoing guard briefing the incoming guard on any ongoing problems relating to the post. If there is something that happened while this shift was still on, you must update the incoming guard. Right. And then recording the handover takeover of the post and equipment in their pocketbooks as well as in the occurrence. That's where you record the handover takeover. And then guards will always conduct themselves in a smart and disciplined manner as members of a uniformed force must be. Right. Just like the police would discipline and so on. Let's look now at the guard post. Each guard post will have a description containing all the responsibilities associated with it, which means each and every guard post has got, they write it down, the duties and responsibilities that must be performed there. Right. And then it must be kept up to date by the security officers. Right. And the security supervisor is in charge of that guard post. When he comes, he wants to see everything is being done according to the duties and responsibilities required for that task of guard post. The guard at the guard post must always be alert to notice any substandard act or condition. When you are at your guard post, check any substandard act or condition happening there. Unauthorized persons or vehicles in the vicinity, you must always be alert to notice that. Then here's the security knowledge which the guard must have. Within the overall security plan, right, each guard will have a specific area of responsibility in order to fully discharge his or her duties. The guard must have both general and specific knowledge relevant to his or her post. This will include, number one, the name or number and description of his or her guard post. 2, thorough knowledge of the layout of the vulnerable areas and vital points which he or she is guarding and why he or she is guarding it. Number 3, the location of adjacent guard posts. Where are the others situated? Other securities, right? Guard posts. Number 4, a system of reference points enabling him or her to report accurately the location of any activity near his or her guard post. Number 5, possible lines of approach and hiding places for criminals, those which you are calling concealment sites. Number 6, the use of flight and shadow for positioning himself or herself whilst on duty. That's why I was saying you must use shadows so that you cannot be visible to everybody. Number 7, the procedure by which people must identify themselves in order to gain access to the area, e.g. use of a password system. Like regular workers or employees, they don't write in the access control register. They just swipe or use their fingerprinting and then they go in. Or password system. Right. Number 8, specific instructions regarding leaving the post. What do they say? Can you just leave? No. Then don't do it. Right. The location of first aid and firefighting equipment. Usually they've got a box on the wall which is a green cross, that is for first aid. You must know exactly where it is in case you need it, as well as firefighting equipment like fire extinguishers. You must know where it is so that in case you need it. Right. Report procedures using either radio or telephone. He or she must have a list of all emergency numbers in his pocketbook. Your pocketbook must contain all the emergency numbers. Although these days even the OB, it also contains all the emergency numbers. Right. Extent of his or her own powers of arrest, search and custody within the framework of the law. That is legal aspects. You must have knowledge of that. Right. Ours, most of the time, powers of arrest, they are falling under Section 42 of the Criminal Procedure Act 51 of 1977. You must be well aware of your powers. Search and custody within the framework of the law. Right. Let's look now at when you can sound an alarm when you are on site. You don't just sound an alarm for nothing or for fun. Right? You can only sound an alarm in case of number 1, fire, 2, attempted forced entry, 3, presence of unauthorized persons and vehicles, 4, discovery of suspicious articles, 5, attempted interference with security protective devices, e.g. fences, lights, gates, doors, windows, or intruder detection systems, e.g. alarms and cameras. That's when you can only sound the alarm. Right. Let's go now to discharging the guard function now. Guards must understand that their function is to protect property, and to achieve this, they must have 3 main lines of defense, which is the 3D principle. We're going to go into more detail about it in grade D. The 3D principle of security. Right. 1, is deny or denial by preventing unauthorized entry and observation. Number 2, detect by patrolling, guarding, alarm systems, and informers. And then that is detect. Detection is just the capability of surveillance. Then number 3, deter, which means by guards, dogs, and physical barriers like vaults, safes, and so on. Those are that is the function of protecting property. Right. Now let's go to security risks. I think it's sitting at question 1, I'm not sure. Security risks which make us to guard and patrol are: number 1, trespass; 2, theft; 3, breaking and entering; 4, assault; 5, armed robbery; 6, fraud; 7, sabotage; 8, terrorist activities or terrorist attacks. Those are the security risks. The questions say list 5 security risks. Right, let's look now at reporting. How do you report? Guard must immediately report all unusual, suspicious incidents or any other activities which can be prejudicial to the property they protect. Number 2, they must also immediately report any damage or malfunction of any physical security aids. Immediately. Number 3, the guard's routine must provide for the periodic reporting to control by radio or telephone at set intervals. Where I was working, we were doing it on an hourly basis. We send a radio message to report situation report. Right. If he or she failed to report, then control will call him or her. It used to happen. If they call you on radio or telephone and you don't answer, they can actually send a supervisor to investigate. Maybe you deserted the post, they don't know. So the guards' routine must provide what? They must provide reporting to control by radio or telephone, right? It's set intervals. Like I said, we were doing it hourly. If he or she failed to report them, control will call him or her, and if there's no response, it should be investigated. Right. Types of patrol, we've got 4 types. We've got perimeter patrol, which you go like in a square premise, just walking around. Area patrol is done usually at airports. We've got internal building patrol, which you see in some buildings. There's security inside. And external building patrol, that is one which is done by somebody who is outside. And we have physical barriers now. We've got things like doors, windows, burglar proofing, safes, gates, strong rooms, fences, safety doors. That is question 3. List 5 physical barriers. All right. Risks to check during patrol. When you are patrolling, you check such risks like lights on, because some people like to forget the light on, unlocked gates, doors open, keys left in doors, damaged padlocks, expensive equipment. In conclusion, now the security company is as good as their guards are, because guards are responsible for 90% of all security. If at all guards can perform their duties correctly, crime won't take place. Thank you very much for listening to my video today. I hope you learned a lot. I'm going to do module 10 tomorrow, which is correct use of fire extinguisher. Thank you very much. Keep on supporting me. Have a nice day. See you in the next one.